Just about every SAT passage is going to have a question that will ask you for the main idea of that passage. It may not use the exact phrase main idea, but it's going to be there. Bank on it. So, where's the main idea of the passages? Generally, they're in the first paragraph. So let's take a look at the 3 different variations on a first paragraph that you're going to see. Okay, I guarantee you all your passages will fit one of these 3 things. All right, variation 1. The first sentence will set out the conventional wisdom. Now, what does conventional wisdom mean? Conventional wisdom means that basically the author is saying, everybody believes that mankind is good. Or wise men always say, or, it's widely believed that this is the case. Or, it's saying that a lot of people believe a certain thing, okay? If you see something like that, basically, you need to realize that you're dealing with the opposite of that conventional wisdom, okay? And the author is using that particular idea as sort of a springboard to make his or her point. If this is the case, the main idea will almost certainly appear as the last sentence in that first paragraph, or the first sentence in the second paragraph. Well, why is that? Simple. If my first paragraph is all about how, it's often said that this and this and this, well, generally that's going to be followed by, but I couldn't disagree more. And that's where your main idea is going to lie. Okay? Now, the second thing that you'll see, the second variation of that first paragraph, is when the first sentence is going to be sort of an introductory statement that gives you background. When this happens, the main idea is anywhere in that first paragraph, but usually right towards the end, the last sentence or 2. Okay? If a question is asked in the first paragraph, the main idea will be the answer to that question. You'll see this in the informational texts, the informational reading passages, the one that sort of provide a history or give you background knowledge. That's where you generally find this sort of information. And the third variation is when the first sentence sort of articulates the author's main idea. The rest of the first paragraph goes on and sort of elaborates or defines that idea. Now, usually the author then contrasts his main idea with that conventional wisdom at some point before then returning to his own or her own main idea. So it's going to have that same conventional wisdom idea, but it won't begin with that. And these are the tricky ones. Usually in that case, you're going to find that main idea in that first sentence. And so it's going to be one of these 3 variations. Now, what happens if the main idea isn't in the first paragraph? Well, sometimes this is the case. Passages are very difficult or even poorly written. That does happen. And you're confused way before you even reach the second paragraph. You may think that if you continue reading, sooner or later the passage will begin to make sense, but unfortunately what usually happens is you become even more and more confused. It's common. That's what they do. They're trying to confuse you. They're trying to make you mad, so you stop reading and get all the questions wrong. Okay, it's absolutely crucial that you come to grips with the main idea of the passage. That's the whole point. Back in the earlier lessons when I'm telling you that you need to skim, that you shouldn't read the entire passage, well, the whole point is you look for the main idea. That's why you read that first paragraph, you read the last paragraph, you read the first sentence of each of the body paragraphs, because you're looking for this main idea. It's absolutely crucial. So until you do, the details of that passage don't make any, if any, sense. Okay. Now, since the author frequently sums up his or her point in the last sentence or 2 of a passage, if you can't find that main idea in the beginning, go to the end. Go directly to that final paragraph. By reading the last few lines carefully, you should get a much better grasp on the author's main idea. Now, again, this doesn't apply when you're dealing with like an excerpt of a novel or an essay, something that's taken from somewhere else. It's a small piece. Of course you're not going to get the main idea in the end, and sometimes not in the beginning. But we're talking now about the informational passages, the ones that are trying to prove something and that give you an entire piece of something, okay? Now, if you don't understand the first paragraph, immediately skip down to the final paragraph and read that last sentence. Once you've gotten a handle on that main idea, you go back and you sort of proceed and you do what I had instructed you to do earlier when you read that first paragraph and then the first sentence of each of the body paragraphs. But make sure you get that understanding of the main idea first.